Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm not sure if everybody or anybody's here. Let's see, how do I do this? I so rarely use the phone to do this kind of stuff. I'm not even sure if I posted that thing, but it looks like it posted. Hmm. Trying to squeeze in breakfast. So far, I'm the only one here, and I might be able to figure out how to send somebody an invite. But please tell me if you can hear me because I've got this Bluetooth on here. So if it sucks, then I will switch it to this. Tell me if this is better. Let's see. Any better? Because if that's better, then I'll take this out. But if this is just as good, if there are people that jump into the chat, like if I bring in Johnny or someone, hey, Stephen Franklin, what's up? You can hear you. You can't hear you? I can't hear you, but I can hear you. You can hear me. Can you hear me better that way or this way? I'm switching. And I know this takes time because of the deep, time thingy. The default right here, default setting, which I don't know, must be a mic here somewhere. And then I've got the Bluetooth headset is here. So which one's better? Now this is number two, Bluetooth headset. Put two if that's better, and put one if this is better. The phone's default mic. I'm gonna guess the phone's default mic might be better. But if I do figure out how to send an invite to somebody, let's see, invite guest, yeah, copy. Might be able to do that. Uh-oh. I copied it, I believe, and I accidentally left the screen for a second. So if I froze, that's because I left the screen so I can go to another screen. So I'll send this to Johnny. He might be awake. Ron's definitely probably awake. Let's go to there. Okay, I am back, I think, right? So keep it there. All right, so keep it on number two. I think it's saying keep it there. Second way, I can hear you. Okay, and Steve Franklin is here. There he is. Let's go on stage. There you go, on stage, and we'll take it off. And there we go. All right, I think I've figured it out. So, what's up, everybody? Music Therapy Labs here. I'm wearing my, I like to take this with me when I go on vacation because I don't know if you know this guy, know your gear guy. That's right, our good friend Phil McKnight, friend of the show, friend of Johnny's show as well, friend of everybody's show. I think Phil is one of those friendly guys. One of the coolest people I've met in the YouTube world. Very honest. One of the things I really love about him, and definitely I want to talk about Ace Frehley today because we lost one of the greats, and not an often talked about and probably a very underrated guitar player in the world of the list of guitar players, right? Because he played in the band that basically put on a circus show, and that's what they had to do back then to get noticed. The band that they had prior to that, I even forget what it's called now. I can't recall some of these things very easily. He was definitely a good guitar player, and there are videos people have showed of him tapping like Van Halen did later on. So, he's done the tapping thing like back as far as 74. But maybe Eddie was doing it back then too. I don't know. Because they started their band Mammoth pretty early on as well. So these guys were in New York, they were in California, and these guys were trying to make it in the scene out there, but weren't really hitting it big, right? They I think it was some kind of Weird Lester or Funky Lester or whatever the band was called before. Can't recall. I'm bad about remembering specifics like that. But yeah, I threw an invite out to Ron, and I said share it with Johnny if he wants to. I can maybe even share it with Johnny. Let's see. I'll be gone for a second again. I'll be back. All right, I'm probably unfrozen now. I'm back, right? So we got three people here, and I'm not surprised. This is kind of last minute thought. I did have a little time yesterday, and if I thought I was going to have time this morning, I would have pre-posted that I'm going to go live today earlier than usual because I'm 2 hours difference right now. I'm in Peru. It's 10:38 here, and that means it's 8:38 Pacific time. When I usually go live, it's at 10 o'clock in the morning in Pacific time. So Ron usually joins if he joins us around 1 p.m. But yeah, so Steve, you can still hear me, right? Let me know. Anyone else new in the chat? He's telling you to keep it there. Keep it there, man. Yeah, so I've been binging as much time as I've had, like in between things that we're doing. And when I have like a few moments to myself while they're all speaking Spanish to each other, I don't know what's going on, which happens quite a bit. And my understanding is better, but they can talk fast, so sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up. But I have an idea of what they're saying for the most part. Um, Having a great time. So we spent the first almost week in the southern central part of Peru, Lima, the capital city. We landed and immediately just had some relaxation and food and slept because, the overnight flight, you never really sleep well on an overnight flight. I usually do, but my sweetie definitely doesn't sleep well even in her own bed. So we had a lot of plans, and we managed to pull them all off. So we got a really great tour. I thought it was pretty well organized, even considering they had to use another company to fill in at the end of the tour for some of the other stuff. It's called Peru Hop. So if you guys want to ever visit Peru and you want to do some sightseeing, they take the mystery and the pain in the ass part out of the trip and just take you to where you want to go. I did that myself by organizing taxis and other things when we went to, for example, Jordan and some other countries like Greece. We just picked out through booking.com or whatever and you can do that with Viator or Airbnb or whatever, you want to use TripAdvisor or whatever. I like booking.com. Works pretty good for me. I've used it for NAM and all kinds of other reasons, right? Whenever you go out of town, you need a place to stay. And the Peru hop thing really took a lot of the mystery out of organizing multiple things that you wanted to do. Like we wanted to go to Paracas, which is kind of what they call the the mini Galapagos. My tongue was already getting tied before I even said Galapagos. The mini Peruvian Galapagos islands of Paracas, which are south of Lima. They have penguins there, and they have sea lions and all kinds of other weird creatures. Pelicans, of course, and other birds. It's a very Galapagos-like kind of place. And so we went there, and it was really cool. And that's where they have on the hillside what they call the candelabra, or the yeah, I think it's called the candelabra. It looks like either that or it could be like the a cactus, but I think they say it could also be one of the medicinal or aphrodisiac or um, drug-like kind of things. I'm forgetting the name of it now suddenly, but it's shaped like that too. So anyway, the typical herb or whatever it's Palo Santo, I think it's called Palo Santo. You guys know what Palo Santo is? Let's see who else is in the chat here. Anybody else in the chat? We got Steven only. Definitely people in the chat. make some noise in the chat. Let me know what's going on there. Give me a thumbs up and all that stuff too. So hopefully you guys can all hear me well. So I've got this guitar I bought last time I was here because you never know, when you have a little time and you you need to have a little guitar play. It's a little dusty right now. I know. I haven't had time. Through, I haven't even had, really much of a breakfast. I had a little bit of something earlier, but this is what they call pan. Pan is bread. These are these little mini pans that you get fresh down the street, like it's a block away. And for 2 soles, which is like 75 cents, I go down there and I grab a bag of these little pans. Mm, it's so good. I think they put like a little butter on the top and bake it. And mm, not as good as the kachangas. Kachangas are better. But yeah, here we go. So this is a Palmer, which I looked up, is not like it's probably made in China. It's not like a superb guitar in any way, shape, or form. But since I bought it, the neck has stayed relatively straight, but like a lot of these cheap guitars, right around where the neck is, you know, in the body here, it starts to do that little hoopty do right there. So I have the neck set fairly straight, and the action is fairly high because it is a classical type nylon string instrument. But the strings are old as F. You can see how yucko those strings are right there. And it has been sitting in a case, but it's not like it's not a case. It's a vinyl bag. He said with a zipper on. It's a gig bag, so it doesn't really seal it off. So I bought a pack of these at a little local store. Hey, Matt Stewart, what's up, man? Matt Stewart, my friend. This guy came to Nam and met up with us there with his wife. We met over at, I think we first met at the Marshall exhibit, right? What an exhibit that was, right? Holy crap. They should have had an Ace Frehley amp there. They should make a Ace Frehley, JCM 900. I think that's what he was playing later on, right? But I'm sure he used the plexus and all that early on in the 70s because that's what was there. Hey, what's up? Holly Lewis also here. Let's show these people. We got Holly Lewis saying hello to Peru. Hello. Hello. We've got, of course, where'd it go? Oh, I got to take him off stage. There we go. Ah, using a phone to do this is kind of a pain. Yeah, new streaming. So, okay, so now they're already doing ads with StreamYard into the chat. That's great. What's up, Matt? Matthew Stewart. Yeah, man. Okay, I'm gonna hide from stage. See who else is on the stage, as they call it here. New comments below. All right. Oops. Hello. Yeah, it's funny. Hello. Hello. That reminds me of Mrs. Doubtfire. Hello. So it's a decent guitar. It's got some electronics to it. So I think I paid around 150, maybe $200 for this, which is a lot of money for something like this. But you know, the 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 availability of stuff is different. Over here, it's 10:46, Matt. 10:46 here. So 2 hours ahead, kind of like where Ron would be in Cleveland area, right? Or hello, Cleveland. More like, and by the way, cities like Cleveland and Detroit, I think the reason why Kiss even wrote that song, Detroit Rock City, because even though they were from New York, they were getting more attention in the Midwest than anywhere else. Because I think kind of like the Footloose movie, where you have all these cities and towns where you don't really have a lot of rock and roll accepted and whatnot. And, in those early days in the 70s, there was a lot of hippie era kind of Beatles and, Beach Boys and maybe Jeff Beck and those kinds of bands, and Zeppelin just starting out, Sabbath just starting out, Pink Floyd just starting out. There wasn't really a band that was like fun, if you know what I mean. Fun in the sense that, I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. I want to rock and roll. Right. So their early songs, it took a while for them to get that anthem in there and create something that made their sound. But they became, that kind of crazy fun band, dressing up like clowns or whatever, if you want to call it that. I like the whole Kabuki, when their second album came out and it was the Japanese lettering on it. Oh, this is very cool because I was all into Japanese, like, Speed Racer and all those Japanese cartoons and stuff back then. And the American stuff too, of course. But we grew up on all that kind of stuff and loved it. Hey, Blackjack Guitar, Canada, that's right. 1146, and you're part of Canada, right? Anyway, what part of Canada? I think you're probably out there in God, what part of Canada would be 1146 right now? I guess that would be more East Coast, like Toronto, vicinity, right? Yeah, Greasy Monkey, what's up? What's up, Greasy Monkey? Yeah, man, I definitely wanted to say hi to you guys, and I've been missing you guys, man. It's been a week or more since I've done a live, and I've been missing you guys. So. Yeah, hi to all the chatsters out there. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Ace, of course. So, the song that got me going, the hard to play on a classical. I didn't even pick up the pick. Little out tune. I don't know the song. I need to learn it. I need to learn all that. But the one part that I did learn, the first solo I ever learned, I swear to God. Okay. Oh God, I'm blowing it. Okay. I'm blowing it. Okay, I didn't practice. Okay, one more time. Okay. Right, and Ace's vibrato, man. Yeah, the greatest vibrato, right? Hey, BC Rich, last fled the U.S. to Peru. That's right. No, I'd be there freaking protesting right now if it was up to me. Sorry if any of you guys on the Oppo side, but my mom was out there. Suspected of bogus checks. Yeah. Yeah, everyone together. That's what she said, right? That's exactly right. Yeah, my wife's scared to hell. She's afraid that they're not going to let us back because I've been too out front about my feelings about what's happening in the United States. But I'll stay off the politics. But I just think it'll all blow over eventually. But yeah, I'm kind of sad for people not wanting to collaborate and work together to solve problems, would rather want to have grievances and fight with each other instead of communicating. And the whole strong arm tactic way of doing business, I don't think is a very productive one. I think finding a win-win solution to problems is a better way to go. And it's hard to find win-win solutions in situations when you're being attacked, like what's happening with the Ukrainians. We promised them we'd take care of them if they gave up their nukes, and they did. And then where was everybody? I mean, we've helped them a little bit, but it's really laughable. Same thing happened to my people, the Hungarians. My parents had to escape. Well, my mom was 9 years old when they escaped Hungary and made it here when she was around 11 and 12. 2 years in refugee camps in Europe and elsewhere. Most of them lost their teeth because of lack of vitamin deficiency and stuff, but they made it to America and they made a life and they all worked hard and they still work. My mom is still working. She still sews and works. So I come from that background of escaping authoritarianism, whether it's communism or thisism or thatism, it's authoritarianism. It's basically people dictating to you how to live without giving you the right to choose yourself how you want to live. And that's where I'm at with it. If people are trying to tell me what God I need to believe in, or what clothes I need to wear, or what music I can listen to, or what people I can love. I'm not for those people. I think they're going down the dark path of not helping each other. You know, instead of just loving each other and kumbaya, I'm more of the kumbaya dude. I'm like the dude. I want to be like the dude. Let's spread love and stuff. So I think that's one of the things I wrote in the description about Ace. Ace was a no bullshit, told it like it is kind of guy. He never pretended to be some great player or whatever. He learned by ear on his own, never had a lesson, figured it out. I mean, he probably got taught a few things, like someone showed him some chords and this and that, but he probably didn't take, he wasn't classically trained. I'm the same way. I was never classically trained. I've had a dozen lessons max, maybe 10, you know, overall. And I've taken classes, music courses in college, but you know, nothing like where I sat down with the teacher and they gave me the books and I went through all the Hanon, virtuoso piano stuff so I can learn to be, my fingers moving good, basically. Yeah, right, Jane Z. A sincere, happy, heavenly hello to you and you too, man. You know, so to me, I think life can be that way too. In other words, we don't need to have someone tell us necessarily what all the rules are on how we should live. If you can just trade with each other fairly, just treat each other like you'd want to be treated, man. That's all. And I think part of the problem that happens in life is that, like what we learned in Corral, in the ancient civilization here in Peru of Corral, they for a millennia, over 1,000 years, had a peaceful, seems like a peaceful, as far as they know, peaceful existence, trading with people from all areas. There were no weapons of war found. There wasn't like mass armories like you find when you go to a castle in Britain and there's armories of swords and it was not easy living in this region. It's a desert climate. It's a arid, oceanside desert with the Andes, but they figured out a way to irrigate. They grew crops, traded those crops and some of the things from those crops, like cotton. They would make nets and clothing out of cotton, trade that with the people on the coast and in the jungle in the Andes, and you could see, that there was a rather amicable way of life going on here. Not a lot of sacrificing and things like that. I'm sure when they had some tough times and there was drought and whatnot, or even like floods and things, they would probably pray to the gods and sacrifice some animals and maybe even some people. Apparently, that's what people in the old days did, because they didn't know much about really how things worked. Hey Johnny Bean, you got the invite if you want to join, jump in. So I'm in this earbud right now. I hope you guys can all hear me. And yeah, but the bottom line is, what I loved about Ace is that he was honest, but he was funny. He could joke about the stuff. He could reminisce on, he could tell it like it is. Like, hey, those guys didn't treat me right, or Peter Chris right, and so we left. Or, there were situations where they were hard working, workaholic kind of dudes, and he was maybe more lazy. He admits, maybe I was more lazy, but then sometimes you need that chill time and relax time to come up with something. Like he says, like, I would not do anything for a while and then I'd have, genius would occur, right? And I think that is something that we can learn from, the ethics of today, the way what we think of how we should be, how we should behave and act. We should all, work hard, 12 hours, 16 hours a day, but where's the time to spend with family and with community and to build relationships? And we're suffering a lot by that. So this being the Music is Therapy show, by the way, that is what it is. The Music is Therapy show. I wanted to talk about not just grief and grieving of someone's death and then celebrating their death during the grieving process. It's about celebrating that person and remembering them. Hey, Mixie Selamite, dude, nice to see you, dude. You rock, dude. Mickey. Hey, Mickey, oh, you're so fine. I love Mickey. And Ian's Guitar Shack. What's up? Yeah, I'm still here. I'll be here for a good another week, roughly. Through the 26th is when we're flying out. So all my gear is stashed away. I always take all my gear, like all the expensive stuff, and put it in storage, hide it, because you never know if somebody might break in. I have my mom and my brother and my sister and my nephews popping in on the place, and I've got three different people on the property looking over stuff, plus the operations manager. So I'm fairly certain that with security cameras and everything else we got around there, won't have to worry too much. But I took all my guitars except for my Sky Blue or Sonic Blue Strat, which doesn't even have a bridge in it right now, and my Telecaster, which is a $200 Telecaster. And I left Fernando in there too. Those were the only three guitars that are left in the room. Of course, the amps are there, but they're not easy to move without being noticed. So I wasn't too worried about leaving those in there. But yeah, everything else, the keyboards, the mixing equipment, all that stuff, mostly everything is out. So I don't have to worry about, what if someone broke in and stole my stuff. So, oh, your ex, Ian says, my ex just flew out there to Lima. Oh, right on, dude. Right on, man. We're going to be back in that area in about 4 days or so. I think we're planning to go to another uh, area to sightsee. So we did Paracas, the mini Galapagos of Peru. And then we went to what's called Huacachina, or they also call it, and I'm going to say an F word here, so get ready, world. Waka fucking China. That's what they call it. There's even a restaurant there called Waka fucking China. And that's because it's a romantic little oasis in the desert and surrounded by dunes, right near a city, and a city of what is the name of the city now? See, I'm mixing up cities. I'm mixing up the names of things. Um, anyway, it doesn't matter. The main thing is, have you seen my music video? Which music video? Which music video, Johnny? Dude, I've watched so many videos, I don't even know which one you're talking about. Typos. Have you seen the music video? Okay, Holly says, I've heard most of it. I think there's some good songs, but some are not best work, but they're still better than the Eagles Fly, than Eagles Fly. Are you guys talking about Van Halen stuff here? We're talking about Ace, Johnny. It's an Ace show today. Give a break to the Van Halen people. Anyway, yeah, but I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat. And it's hard for me to see the whole chat. I have to scroll down. Have you seen some music video? I don't know what music video. The biggest selling album in history. Uh, the new biggest selling. Are you talking about? You talking about what's her name? Okay, we're not even going to talk about her. So we're talking about Ace Frehley. Let's not talk about anybody else. This is my time to grieve. Ace, the man who made me jump around with a tennis racket pretending to be a rock star. And the first solo I ever learned was this. God. Anyway, that's the best I got with this guitar. Oh my God, I wish I had the clapper. Johnny, if you were live here, you'd hit the clapper right now. So yeah, it's an early show, but yeah, man, the whole Ace Frehley thing for me, it's so funny because when I think back to those days, I mean, when you're a kid, you're hardly paying attention from just one moment to the next is just cuckoo. You're just like bouncing back and forth on different whatever's grabbing your attention. I'm still like that a little bit now as a young adult at 59. But But the thing is that Ace was exciting. The Spaceman thing. Back in the 70s, we were all getting into all the space shows. I remember seeing, you know, some of those early movies, early space movies, like Buck Rogers in the 25th Century TV show or movie, and then TV show, and then there was Battlestar Galactica, and of course Star Trek, and then later Star Wars came, and then And all these movies about space, and of course you had the space shuttles launching. I remember watching some of those. I remember, a lot of that stuff in the 70s. We got food sticks at the grocery store because that's what the astronauts had. Of course they had Tang because that's what the astronauts drank. So it was all about space, and we were very excited about space, even though the space race kind of ended, with the last moon. I think it was Apollo 13 that ended it all, or was there a 14th one? Anyway, I think 18 would have been. So I think they might have had 15, 16, 17. Anyway, I don't know that much about, some of that stuff specifically, but I always loved astronomy, not astrology, astronomy and space and the cosmos, and wrote a fourth grade report on the Horsehead Nebula and was fascinated with. I had the stars thing, in the room, all that stuff. So I was definitely. I didn't have a telescope. We didn't have that kind of money. And where we lived at that time, when we did have a little money, there were too many trees right by the window, so it was nowhere. So what time is it here, Johnny? It is 11 o'clock here. So 2 hours before you, man. Yeah. So Holly says she saw Kiss in the 70s. That's awesome. I have a picture of the sign. I recall Gene in the blood. Yeah, his tongue and the whole thing was fascinating and the fun. Yeah, it was so fun, right? That's the thing about it, is that it was fun stuff. You know what I mean? And that's why I think they didn't really hit it big in the earlier scene in New York City, where more serious musicians were playing. They were more fun, and I think that's what was cool about that. I think that that's what I liked about Ace's playing. Personally, I could play it like right now. I mean, I can play the It's accessible, kind of. I can kind of play it. It's accessible, and then the solos too. I mean, he didn't write that solo. I think I heard him in interview talking about that. Eddie Kramer, the producer, who produced them, and Hendrix and a lot of other people. He wrote that solo part. He's like, no, you got to put something melodic into there. They were trying to figure out a solo or a bridge thing. And then that, the dual solo thing, I think that was new. Was anyone else doing that outside of like Skinner, or those bands where you had two guitarists in one? I mean, there were other two guitarist things, but were there very many solos that anyone memorably did a solo where there were two guitars playing the same solo, but in different harmony to each other? So that was cool, man. And there probably were, but man, Kiss was the biggest band. I think they sold more records in the United States. They have more platinums. They sold, God, a lot of records, and maybe not the biggest sellers in the world, versus Michael Jackson or whatever. But I'll tell you what, man. I think Ace influenced as many guitar players as maybe Hendrix did. Maybe I'm really saying something stupid right now. That's okay. But in the 70s, I wasn't listening to Jimi Hendrix, and that whole 60s era kind of like hippie, everyone on drugs thing was frowned on. Our parents didn't want to teach us, yeah, be a druggie and go up on stage. And so that's how I saw it. That's how we saw it. Whereas it didn't seem, even though Ace was probably high a lot of the time, it didn't seem to us like, it was a different kind of show. It was more exciting. It was like a TV show, like a cartoon show. It was like almost like superheroes up there on stage. So it was different, and we didn't understand how like cocaine, and we didn't know anything about that stuff back then. I mean, we had drug classes that taught you about, you know, things like PCP and stuff. I remember was the danger. But and then of course, um, what do they call that? The reefer madness thing. But then we saw movies like the one Johnny got into playing guitar. Oh, it was in the theater, Holly. That would have been awesome. Yeah, man. The early days, right? So the thing is that Johnny Bean, like, he got into Van Halen, not maybe didn't necessarily just guitar, but was Back to the Future movie, you know? And remember there, those musicians were getting high. They were smoking the reefer. Anyway, so it kind of made you think like, yeah, maybe it's not going to kill you. It's so bad. Yeah, small hangover, Jane Z. Oh, okay. I know how that is. I was drinking a lot of beers yesterday too. Yeah. I got kidnapped by the nephews yesterday, and they took me out. Oh, we're just gonna go have a beer, you know. And then we're gone from 11:30 to 6 p.m. Almost 7 p.m. we got back, so it was crazy. So I was gonna change the strings on this, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time for that. You can kind of tell they're a little rusty because I think my wife's brother is gonna be back shortly, and his wife's upstairs sweeping and stuff right now. You can hear that. I'm having my coffee. I brought my own Starbucks here. I love my Colombian Starbucks roast, my medium roast, so I always bring it. Mm, everybody here loves it too. So Ian is saying, sending message to X, get me a new True Yo hat. Dude, I did buy some. So I did buy some. I wish I could show pictures on here because with the phone it's more difficult to do all that stuff. But I did buy some. I got four more. I even got one for Ron. It's pink. I'm gonna send it to him. I'm gonna send it to him just to mess with him. Oh my God. But yeah, I still have to send all the packages out, you guys. I just did not have time. So sorry for that. But I'll make it worth your while for waiting, you know. Yeah. So my wife's husband, that's me. My wife's brother. Because I'm half trying to think in Spanish and half trying to speak in English now. I'm thinking, you know, that way because I've been here for a while. So he wants to learn Hotel California, and I'm telling him, well, you want to learn a song that has like four guitars playing at one time, and you want to do it on one guitar. Okay, let's try to simplify it. And I was trying to explain this to him. I was trying to tell him, yeah, I'll get him. He's got a Cheerio hat coming, that's for sure. Johnny can have a Cheerio hat. So I was trying to explain to him that the way I learn music and the way Ace learned music and other people too learn music is using their ears, right? And they have an instrument they can play it on. They can play on. They have fingers, nubs, or whatever they have. They can figure out a way to play. You know, there are people that probably don't even have limbs that could blow a flute, maybe, and just like a pan flute, move from flute size to size, and there you go. You can make music. So you don't even have to have appendages. As long as you have a mouth and if you have a body, you can breathe, and you have a heart pumping blood through you. You can probably make music. That's what I'm saying. Might sound a little macabre, but I'm just saying. Um, you can make music, right? And if you can't make music, you can bang your head on something and be the drummer, right? So the bottom line is that to me, learning how to play an instrument, it's all about just do you want to learn it and how much do you want to learn it? How far do you want to learn it? Like, do you want to become a savant, expert, kind of playing 6 hours a day kind of person or not? I was too busy out chasing girls and hanging out with friends, reading comic books and stuff. And we played music too, but you know, not like I wasn't like so into music that was it. You know, some people are like that, and good for them, and that's why they become Ace Frehley or they become Eddie Van Halen or whatever. But the way I told Edwin is his name, how to learn a song is first listen to the song, and if you want to listen back to it while you're doing it, or you can try to listen to it in your head, first figure out the melody. So the singing part, the melody, right? So there's that part in the beginning where, you know, they have the acoustic guitar going. It's major, right? So I told them that you gotta first learn, you know, the basic notes. So that's the basic note of the chorus, right? Now, going from major to minor, you have to figure that out too. But that's when you start to learn bar chords, or you can learn, the regular open chords, right? That takes a little longer, but first try to figure out, where the bass is going. Bucket just rolled down the stairs, and so I told him then there's the melody, right? So you can figure it out yourself, make your own version of it, right? And just like with the Detroit Rock City, I figured out the bar chord's got to be this, because it's not, it's too low, so it has to be like, and it was definitely E. Sounded like, or I think he's dropped down, right? And I think I see him playing it. He goes, you can watch videos of people playing stuff, and then wherever it goes from there, So I was trying to tell him, take a little time, try to figure out the main notes, the key notes, right? The one, the two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, whatever of the song, wherever it's going, where the changes are, and then learn chords. And it's great to learn bar chords because it's easier to move around, but it's good to learn the open chords too. Is this it, Johnny? The C? Anyway, and he was really getting into it. And like within a half an hour, he's kind of figuring out a couple of things that he never figured out before. And that was cool. And listening to Ace talk a lot, he was humble in the sense that he's like, yeah, I'm in the greatest rock band, Kiss and everything. I love this laugh. But he played a lot. He practiced a lot. He tried to get good. He listened to all the best and copied them listening to the radio, or if he had a record player, his mom's house or parents' house, whatever, like what those guys were talking about. They had transistor radios, the little radio that had a battery that you'd walk around listening to songs. And if you were lucky, you had somebody in the household that had a cassette deck, that you could record the song so you can play it over and over again, or a record player. So I had one of them, Realistic or Fisher Price. It might have been Fisher Price or Realistic. I can't recall. I think it was Realistic. Record player, radio, and cassette player, and you can record anything that played off the radio, or you can record anything off your records onto cassette. And we used to make cassettes. Hey, Guitar Man 45, what's up, dude? What is up? Yeah. And so that's how we figured out songs. You just listen, and then you just go by the memory of it, because my memory, I'm probably not playing it in the right key. I don't know, but how's it go? See, I never learned like the proper chords. Would it be A, C? Johnny probably knows. For Hotel California, right? Tano, the dog Tano just showed up. You guys want to see Tano? Tano, come Tano. Come Tano. Check out Tano. Oops, forget Tano. Tano, how are you doing? Tano's a cool dog. I wish I had a dog. like Tano. Right, I wish I had a dog like Tano. Oh, you're so cute. This guy's the coolest dog. Look at that. Hold on. Tano, say hi to the world. He's gonna start biting now. He's gonna start going. You're gonna get the belly rub. Oh my goodness. Get the belly rub. Tano. Yeah, you're not getting the other thing rubbed. All right, back to the show. That's it, Tano. Anyway, yesterday he was freaking out on the guitar because of the noise it makes. It was funny. He didn't like it. He was like complaining. I think it's Tano with a T, like Tano. Tano, like that, I think. Tano. How do you send? Ugh, so annoying. I don't know how to send. Go. Go. I don't know. Yeah, like that. I can't see. I can't seem to find a way to. Can't seem to find a way to send the message. There's no like arrow for that. I'm gonna have to turn this sideways. There we go. Yeah, Tano. See, when I turn the screen sideways, it lets me do it. Sorry about that. Did that send? Oh my God, so annoying. Show on stage. Laz, it will be all right. The Peruvian weather has got you. Give it a minute. We'll come back to you. Can play that darn guitar. Yeah. Nah, dude, I haven't been playing. I haven't been playing for a while, for weeks. I've hardly had any time to play anything. I didn't get together with my buddy Andy. I haven't played keyboards. I haven't played anything in like 3 weeks. This is the first time I picked up a guitar outside of putting them in the cases and putting them in the storage. I haven't picked up a guitar in weeks, which is blasphemous. Okay, Tano, hold on. Send it. Send. There it goes. Finally sending. All right. Jeez. Like, I don't know why on the horizontal screen it can't show this in a little bit smaller format here on the text so I can do things. But it is what it is. Thank you, StreamYard. I'm not paying for you. Not until you do the things that make sense to make things better. Anyway, and it would make things easier. But yeah, it's a cool dog, right? Yeah, man. Yeah, right. Yeah, I know, Holly. But you know what? It wasn't always like that, and StreamYard was a little bit more accessible as not a just a sit down podcasting creation app, right? Or whatever you want to call it. It basically simplified what the other software out there that it's copying does to make it easier, simpler to go live and do live stuff. And they haven't improved on things that I think matter. I think if they would do things like what Prism does for you to be able to streamline everything and make things easier so it's simpler, it would be more user friendly and more usable. If they're trying to go after that platform, fine, but don't give up on the simplicity side either. You can add those other things if you want to, but make improvements that make StreamYard what it was in the beginning, simple and easy to use and functional. And if it starts not functioning as well because it's getting more complex, and not as user friendly for everyone, then there's going to be a smaller niche group of people that are going to want to use it. And what'll happen? They'll find something else that's simpler. Yeah, keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. Exactly. So yeah, it might have been exactly, what it was. Because I think when Paul Stanley was putting on the makeup and he's got that, lipstick on, and he's always going like that all the time to the camera, to himself in the mirror. He thought, kiss, kiss, that's what it should be, kiss. And why not? Back in the day, they told us that it was kings in Satan's service and they were evil and not to, follow the kiss army because then you're going to hell. And at first we're like, yeah, that's bad. And then we're like, oh, that's silly. And then we decided to do it anyway. Because Santa Claus is an elf too, and isn't that evil? Elves are, like evil creatures, right? Anyway, so all the weird things in life that make you wonder about what truth is. Yeah, but bringing it back around to Ace, right? Let's bring it back around. So Ace Frehley, man, you know, yeah, dang, just I wanted to see him in his tour, and I know he was going to be going on a European tour, but he hadn't. I don't think he's come out to the West Coast yet. And that's the thing about, the West Coast. It's great. I love it, but there's a lot of action going on the East Coast that we miss out on. If I lived out in somewhere like Nashville or something like that, the thing is, I've lived in that part of the world, and it's not for me. I mean, I love it. I'm sure it's great in some ways. It's people get used to it or whatever. The winters there are different, but I grew up being a California kid, and I like the ocean. As little as I get to go to see it. I love the ocean. I love to be near it. And honestly, I just love the Bay Area. The diversity. It's just such a more low-key, kickback place. We've got our problems, what's just like anywhere. But I love like San Francisco, man. Every time I go into San Francisco, I'm reminded how much I love my city. I love San Francisco. It's such a great city. By the way, I'm wearing my buddy Phil McKnight's one of 10 of these, I think, at the most made. This is the one shirt he designed. Learn it, live it, love it, know your gear. And it's a tone knob, or it could be a tone cup because they have that chips and tone coffee mug, right? Yeah, Paul Stanley says that Peter Chris mentioned, let's see, that his old band name was called Lips. So he said Kiss because it has double meanings. Yeah, right? I like that. So maybe they were just trying to throw out names, throw stuff on the wall, trying to figure out what it should be. And Kiss kind of looks good. And I think it was Ace Frehley who drew that Kiss logo, with the swooping, even before Star Wars. Paul Stanley, the Starman, or the Spaceman, the Starman, the Spaceman came up with, the logo with the big swooping letters like that, with the edging outline like that. So that, if you think about it, that was pretty smart. Those kinds of letters, like you see heavy metal bands, you can't even freaking read what the hell the name is because it looks like lightning, torn apart. It's like, what the hell is the name of this thing? Whereas, Metallica, boom, it's right there, right, James? Yeah, it's that. And that's another fun story. If you guys haven't been binging on Ace Frehley interviews and stuff, do it, man. The guy's so great to listen to. He's such a low key, the dude. He's the coolest dude in that band. He was definitely, by far, the coolest guy in that band. By far. I'm sorry. To me, Ace was he was very matter of fact, and he knew what he knew. And if he wasn't right, he's fine. Oh, I was wrong about that. Whatever. He wouldn't hang on to crap. He wouldn't hang on to things like I think Paul does, talking about some things that weren't cool. And the bottom line is that he's more accepting of people being different, and that's how he wasn't as driven as they were. So what? So he liked rocking out, making music, and maybe that's why his songs were a little bit more like that. They were more that kind of laid back party attitude. I mean, I love that song 2000 Man because it's just such a weird, cool song. It's about contemplating life, if you were in the 2000s and you're a 2000 man, and you're having an affair with your computer, And the way he says words in that too, I thought it was funny that because he even says in other interviews that he was shy about his vocal, abilities, and he was always put down in a way by Paul and Gene that keeping him down on the vocal side. But I thought his vocals were cool. And what's interesting in that song too, he'll even uh, sing words in a way that sound like a British person. Computer instead of computer. And he's like a Bronx dude, so he didn't say it like a Bronx guy, like computer. He said it like a computer because he was trying to sound maybe more like a rock star, the Ace Spaceman character. You fall into character when you're a musician, right, on stage. Sometimes that's a way to deal with that stuff, right? Yeah, and exactly. Who didn't have? Hey, what's up, Ryan Hall? Yeah, my Hungarian American music and law brother. Howdy. Yeah. You rock, dude. Ryan is the best. Check out his music. He's great to listen to too, and he lives out in that area. Yeah, but who didn't have substance issues back then, right? And you know what? Maybe Ace liked to drink just like anyone would like to party and drink. I mean, think about it. You guys, you're in a bar. That's one of the reasons why I never got into the rock and roll music scene either. It's because I didn't imagine myself living a majority of my life in bars, playing music to people drinking. I don't know. It's just I love music. Don't get me wrong. I love music. I love listening to it. I love playing it. I love getting together with musicians and playing music. It was way more fun hanging out at my brother's or someone at my cousin's house, rocking out to music, but they were getting drunk, But, some of the time, and it's cool. I'm not going to say, I drink a little bit here and I smoke a little bit there. The bottom line is that I just didn't imagine my whole life being in that atmosphere all the time. I just, for whatever reason, I felt like, that's not for me. I don't want to give up my weekends and not have a family life. I love being around my community and my family and my friends and hanging out whenever and most people are going to have 9 to 5 jobs and live that kind of life, and I kind of like that, the family man. So I don't have any regrets at all, but it doesn't mean that I don't have, those dreams too. Everyone, we all fantasize and dream of another life. If you could live another life, what would it be like? I'd be Ace Frehley all fucking day long, man. That guy lived an amazing life, right? And no doubt he got the most chicks too. There was a question in one of Johnny's or somebody else's chat, who got the most chicks? Come on. I mean, Paul probably got plenty. But I'm telling you, Ace probably got all the ones he wanted. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're having PBTS, post-traumatic syndrome. Post what traumatic syndrome? Post-traumatic, post-bar traumatic syndrome. Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah, I get you. So, yeah, I thought I'd change the strings on this thing while I'm chatting, but I'd rather pay attention to the chat and hang out with you guys. So, gone a little long here. I think I got a message from somebody. Oh, yeah, Martin says he can't join. Yeah. I sent a link to Martin because he's in Austria, and it's like before dinner time right now, around dinner time there in Austria. I'm finishing off my coffee here. I even gave away a pick to one of the drivers. The driver took us to corral. I asked him what his hobbies were, and he said that he likes to go fishing. And I was telling him about my uncle and my grandfather and my dad, and we used to go fishing all the time when we were kids. We'd go camping and fishing along the Sacramento Delta into the lakes, American River, Lake Shasta, Lake Tahoe. But Lake Shasta was a lot of fun. Russian River is one of the rivers where my family actually has a piece of land there that we can't build on, but we get to go to. And so we were chatting about that, and then I told him about my hobby of music. And then he told, oh, he's playing a little guitar. And so we were chatting about music and guitar, and I showed him pictures of my room and stuff. And then I gave him one of these Dava picks. I love these things. I bought a big box of them when they were on sale one time at Sweetwater, and I'll look for that sale again. But what's cool about these is, they flex really easily because of that ridge they have in the middle there. Ridges. It's flexy. You can hold on to it really easily because of the words and everything on there, right? And then the tip is a nice tip, and it's stiff. So if you hold it back here, it'll flex. So you can do like, and I learned that Van Halen's trick of using the middle finger to for whatever reason, holding it with the middle finger, it's easier to do that versus with your forefinger. I don't know why, but maybe it's just the position of your hand. But with the middle finger, no, I'm not doing it right. So for whatever reason, that works better. But then you can hold it closer to the tip and be whatever kind of like more, kind of guitar playing that you need to have the tip being stronger, not so flexible. So maybe certain kinds of like things I don't know how to do yet. Yet. But I love Dalvin picks for that, and I'll probably buy another big box of these, like with 100 of them in there or 50 of them in there, and do giveaways of that. So I did get Chuyos. And I also did check out, you guys saw that one guitar hanger I have I got from Lake Titicaca, from Puno, Lake Puno, Lake Titicaca. That's really cool, kind of embroidered fabric. I found a place that has those. They're a little expensive. We're going to see if we can find them cheaper somewhere, but if we can't, then I'm going to pick up a bunch of them before we leave from Peru at that store in Lima, and make a bunch of them like that. So I'll be making more of the guitar hangers, the sound trap guitar hangers, what we used to call the Roxy's guitar hangers, and hopefully sell them on Etsy and wherever, and try to make a name for myself with those products and try to get that off the ground. So that's my next big project outside of improving the studio and making the channel better for you all, and then monetizing, because I don't feel like it's right to monetize when I'm not really giving you guys the quality that you should get for your money. So I know people were already, throwing money at me and stuff, and that was cool. And I appreciate it. And you can do that. I've got PayPal up on the description there. So if you want to help out, that's great. But, it is my hobby right now. I can't call it a business. But I do want to start making it more serious and doing proper demos and proper shows where, it's not just hanging out and hanging with my friends, you guys, want to make it more, yeah. I need 80 subs. Yeah, I need another 80 subs to 1,000, and we can give away a guitar. Let's get to 1,000. I'll give away a guitar this year. Hopefully we can do it by Christmas, but it's been hard to break that number for whatever reason, and I think it's because I'm not really doing what the algorithm wants me to do, so it's not sharing. I need to do more shorts. I need to send more, you know, short videos. That's what YouTube wants. Even Phil McKnight's doing that. He's taking pieces of his lives and putting it on there. And I think he actually does segments that he probably to some degree, scripts out. So there are segments that he can go to and then easily edit out. Because if you're looking for stuff and it's hard, it takes time to go through to edit things out. So let's say, I could say, and now it's time for guitar of the day, and then it's easy to look that up, to look up with AI, find guitar of the day segment. We'll talk about Palmer guitars, cheap, inexpensive acoustic electronic guitars that has a built-in tuner and, cost of 150, 200 bucks. And it's fine for my uses here. It doesn't have, yeah, the battery compartment's right there, and then that's where you plug in. But it doesn't even have anywhere to hook on strap. There's no strap buttons on it anywhere. So I guess you got to figure that out. Johnny Bean, enter the studio. Let's drop Johnny Bean in before I leave. Okay, how do I do that? Add to the stage. There we go. Can you hear me,
Hey,
John?
I hear you.
There he is. You're heading to the cafe, I assume.
What's going on? What's
I'm in
going on?
Peru. You're in Santa Cruz. Talking Ace Frehley. Yeah. Yeah, the camaraderie, the music brothers and sisters that we listen to music sincerely. Rest in peace, Ace. Yeah. Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Ace. And Johnny, thank you for the awesome coverage you've done on Ace Frehley. You know? Do you hear me? Oh, he's frozen now. And it might be my fault because I'm not in good internet. I'm on Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
from somebody's movie phone access on their computer through their TV, whatever internet here. Yeah, you should do some short clips to get more viewers. Yeah, I got
I
to do that, Blackjack Guitar. Yeah.
I got
See, Johnny's in and out too, because it's probably my fault because my internet's so bad. Yeah, and he's also in Santa Cruz, so that probably doesn't help. Yeah, but I just need 80 more to 1,000. But I don't want to make my show about giveaways and about free guitars and about that kind of stuff. So that's part of the other reason why I try not to, you know, make it too much about that. I want to make it more about the music therapy thing and more about demos and gear and hangouts with you guys and talking about music like what everyone likes to do. And Johnny likes to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be me. Yeah, right on, man. Thanks so much, Ryan. You rock, dude. Love you, man. I hope you're enjoying that telly or whatever they call that thing. C style. That GNL. Now that GNL's, looks like there's going to be a change to the GNL thing, right? Yeah, it looks like Johnny can't connect. And it's probably my fault because my internet. I guess. I don't know. Am I clear? Can you guys hear and see me all right? So for whatever reason, Johnny's just spinning. Yeah, but learning guitar, like what Ace did, he probably just listened to the records or tried to remember them. And yeah, right, Holly. That was the first solo. I'm pretty sure that was the first solo I ever tried to learn. I'm getting better at it. Yeah, Ace. Ace was the best. He was the coolest, man. All right, I think I'll call it. You guys have anything else? Kush, man, what's up, dude? You're from New York City. You know that band, right? I love New York City, by the way. That's another thing that, you know, I love New York City. It's such a great town. It reminds me of San Francisco, just bigger, way bigger, with a lot more attitude. And I love that about New Yorkers. That's what I love about Ace and even Gene and the whole thing. I mean, Gene was always kind of, to me, he's kind of like a weird dude to me. He's kind of, he's like one of those guys that thank God he found music because he would have become a psycho killer or something. Who knows? Because you see pictures of him when he's young. Maybe he was just trying to look mean, just so he wouldn't get picked on. You try to look mean so people don't mess with you. Bad internet. Yeah, that's so cool, man. I know, man. It's all good. But yeah, but he seems all right, really. I think all those guys, they really loved each other. I think what's really cool about listening to them talk, and then recently I think it was Jamie or somebody sent me, Jamie Uhas, sent me, he was sending me all kinds of videos. He was always sending stuff. And one of the ones I appreciated is when Ace showed up to the more recent Kiss cruise or whatever it might have been, like a heavy metal rock cruise, and Kiss was playing, and he came out on stage and did an acoustic set with all the guys there, except Peter Chris. I don't think he was there, right? And that was cool because he was playing it like that, no, but better than me. But yeah, but I'm having a great time. It's nice to be vacationing. It's nice in Peru. It's nice. It's the springtime here. So Oppo, equator wise with the axis of the earth, So we're Oppo, California in Northern America when it comes to the weather. So over there, we're ending our summer here. They're beginning their spring. We're in the fall up there. We're in spring over here. And so it's really nice. There's no mosquitoes or anything, nothing like that. It's not cold at all, but it's not super hot yet. So it's a really good time to come to this place. And I was actually talking with the young guys here who are all busy in business. Right on, man. Rock on, Johnny. Thanks for joining. Thank you again for your awesome coverage of Ace's, story, and especially the smoking guitar. Right? That was cool. You guys breaking down how he used that guitar and how they did the smoke bomb guitar thing. When I saw them, I'm pretty sure. Now I looked it up, Johnny. I'm pretty sure when I saw them, it was actually Ace because I remember my friend Corey who he didn't buy the tickets, he actually got them from his work. We were sitting in box seats, and it was at the Oakland Coliseum, and it was around that time when I had my studio and stuff. So that was in '96 when they played Oakland, and I'm pretty sure it was when they played there at Oakland with Peter Criss. So it was Ace, and he had the rocket smoking guitar and shooting rocket, Roman candles out of his guitar and all. It's freaking awesome, dude. That guy was the coolest dude, the coolest man. Yeah, so great to see them. I wish I got a T-shirt. I wish I had something from that show. I wish I got something from that show. I don't know why I didn't, or if I did, but at that time I didn't have a lot of money because we poured so much money into that studio. Holy crap, that was a money pit in a big way. Right on, Rico B. What's up, dude? Yeah, and I know isn't isn't this Charles's showtime right now? So I'm probably encroaching. Sorry about that. From Oregon, cloudy Oregon. Yeah, man. Sorry to be encroaching on Charles's show, but everyone go check out Charles's show. I think he's going to be on or he's already on. No, I think he's going to be on, right? So at noon, no. Yeah, noon is when I come on. So he's on right now. Unfortunately, I'm kind of overstepping on Charles's show. So sorry about that, man. But this is when I had a chance to do this, so I did it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ace in 2000 with the papers were in the line. Yeah. Yeah, I think I looked it up and Ace and, you know, Ace, hey, what's up, man? James Lee is cool. Yeah, Ace was back with Peter Criss at the Oakland Coliseum for a '96 show, and that's probably when I saw him. Because I remember I had the studio when we saw him. And my friend Corey at that time was doing really well, working in the mutual funds business. He was trying to get me into working at the bank and doing that. I got talked out of that by my uncle. He says, "Oh, what are you going to work at a bank all day?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm over here with one good eye, working in a wood shop with shit flying around and my fingers half getting cut off once in a while and all kinds of crazy shit. And maybe it would be better at a bank, but I didn't. I didn't go work with him, and I should have because in some ways I have that one regret in life that if I had gone into that business with him and he would have taught me into it because we were best friends, I might have lived a completely different life. But I stuck it out with family because I had the studio. I had the opportunity to build that studio in the back of my grandparents' house, and I was working at the door shop my grandfather worked at with my uncle, and it was nice to be working with the family, even though I didn't make a lot of money. I got to do what I wanted to do, which was be with family and be a family man of sorts. But I wasn't making enough to have my own family, and that's kind of why I eventually broke away from working with them because just wasn't enough money to have my own family life, you know? Yeah, but it's all good over here, and I have my dreams. I was telling you guys right before I got off on a tangent, probably because of the chat. I was telling them of my dreams of getting a little place somewhere near one of the beaches northwest of here. Maybe Vichaito Beach, which is near Mancora, which is a famous like surfer kind of town. And they have lobster and all kinds of great restaurants, and it's a great place. And we stayed at Vichaito Beach a few years ago, and I can imagine trying to buy a little plot of land or something, or even a dilapidated house or something near the beach that I could slowly over time invest in and build up, and then make it into like a little partial retirement place where we can spend several months out of the year visiting here. And this property, actually, my wife's mother, who lives here, she owns this level of this home. So her brother owns the upper level, and the dad gave each child, a piece of the property. And so she owns the lower level. And what's nice about that is my my wife's mom actually ran a little store out in front here. So people would come and buy stuff from her. Now she hasn't been doing that for a while because she's a little too old for that now. But you could do that again. So there's a little way of making money that way. And then the Vichaito Beach idea is to have a little cabo wabo of my own kind of place. I would call it California Joe's because my middle name is Joe. And it would be a fusion of a bar, restaurant, and club. Perfect, right? I would serve up, Peruvian dishes, but also throw in some California American style foods, and do some beef, steaks, burgers, things I know how to do, ribs, and then I would also mix in some Hungarian. So I'd throw in the Hungarian palacsinta, some of the desserts, some of the like goulash soup, goulash chicken, paprikash chicken, all the good stuff, right? And the cucumber salad, everyone loves that. When the Peruvians had the cucumber salad, they died for that. And then in the mornings, I could do, pancakes, banana pancakes and American style pancakes. They love that stuff. I can do donuts, They do their own version of that here called picarones, made from yams or sweet potatoes. But I can do, that and American style donuts in the mornings and other Hungarian morning pastries, Chiga, choki chiga. It's like a croissant kind of thing. That's a swirl kind of croissant thing. And just live it up into my old age, right? Part of the year out here in Peru and make a business out of it because one way that's, you can live somewhere is make a business out of where you live. Like that's what I'm doing now. I property manage, so I don't have to pay for rent. So I'm living in the business. So I don't have to pay for, in a sense, living there because I'm working there, but I'm living there. So it's kind of cool. It's like I spend about as much time as my brother does on the upkeep of his house on my place, but I don't own it. So that's the other thing. So he does own it, but I don't have to pay for mine. So, there's that. So instead, we use the money for other stuff like travel and saving and buying gear. Buying gear, right? So Cali Joe's, right? California Joe's. I thought about calling it Bay Area Joe's, but I don't think they'd get that, so it has to be California Joe's. As a matter of fact, that's right, Laz's Food Channel. As a matter of fact, that dude, I learned a lot about cooking watching Food Channel network stuff, by the way. So I learned a lot about not having fear of mixing stuff up and just creating stuff. Look at what you've got and make something out of it. And I've come up with dishes that I made up, and my wife loves them. I have this spinach pasta dish with orzo pasta because that's what we had, and it's my Laz's orzo pasta dish. It's amazing. Anyway, but the thing is that you just have to have a little confidence in yourself and be willing to be creative and go for it, man. I think people. That's what I love about Ace. I'll bring it back to Ace. You got to dream it, but then you got to work it and make it happen. You know. And that's how it happens. That's how you make it happen for yourself or for anyone else. Anyone out there, don't stop dreaming, it ain't over until it's over, and do what you want to do. Do as much as what you can do. Do it as much as you can, I don't have as much time as I'd like to on playing instruments and playing guitar and doing music, but I'm sneaking in as much as I can whenever I can, and I'm trying to work on making more of it part of my life, and that's why I share it on this Music is Therapy show because I think in a big way, music connects us and makes us forget about all the crap that we hate each other for, right? And so look at even band members that will hate on each other and they get together and they play that music. It's all forgotten in that moment, right? And I think that's something that we can learn from the gift of and the mystical powers of music, right? I'll call it mystical. 'Cause why not? Let the power of music bring us together, you know, and do creative, fun things instead of griping and bitching and moaning about why things aren't the way we want them to be, right? Make it happen. That's what I say. So, way to go. One step at a time. That's right, dude. One step at a time, man. Baby steps. All right, you guys. You guys all rock. Yeah. Yeah, it's great to be here in Peru. I love it. They've got their problems here too. You know, my wife's scared about everything. Like, don't take your cell phone with you here. Don't do this. And it's like, honey, you can't live in fear, man. I'm glad that I bring that side of living to her because otherwise she'd be like, you know, inside the house and just not going out and doing anything. I made her go slide down the dunes on the dune buggy. We did the dune buggies thing and made her slide down the hill on the snowboard. You know, not standing up but sliding down on your stomach. I did that way too. My knees are too bad for the other way to do it. I would go for it if I had some time and I spent all day doing it. I'd do that. But you know, my knees are not in great shape. Yeah. So YouTube, Johnny Bean has entered the studio. He's back. All right, let's bring you back for the end here. There we
Hey,
go.
you got me?
There he is. Yeah, I'm just about to end it, but we can end it on you.
Don't end it, Laz.
Don't end it, Laz. Okay, I'm not gonna end
All
it,
good.
Johnny.
Everything's fine, man.
Everything's good. It's all right. It's all gonna be good.
Everything's good. We're hooked up.
Just talking about ending the show.
Oh, okay. Dude, end it. It was terrible. Turn it off. Turn it off,
I'm not
man.
gonna end it. I'll keep it on just for you. Well, yeah, Chris, man, you know, I have been called a Renaissance man by more than one person throughout my life. Like the people I meet and when I'm working or when I'm doing whatever, and they find out the depths of the different things I do. I have been called that. And I'm proud of that in a sense because I think, you know, it's sometimes people talk down to that and say, oh, man of many, you know, talents, but not an expert at any one. And that's bullshit. I think it's good to know a lot of a little of everything because one, you know, I could survive pretty much anywhere, and I make friends easily, and you know, I am able to do a lot of things, so I can fix things on my own. You know, learning how to fix guitars, for example, or anything else. I want to learn. I'm curious. I want to know how things work, and I want to know how I can fix them and make them work and be better, or be my own version of it, or whatever. And that's the spice of life, man. Right, Johnny? Look at
Yeah.
you building guitars every week now. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a compliment, right? And I take it that way. And some people, you know, some people will poo-poo all that because they're like, oh, you're not an expert at any one thing, so you'll never really succeed in life because you're too spread out with too many things. And, you know, maybe, I don't know. I seem to be happy doing it the way I'm doing it. That's all I have to say. So if I can make it work, I'm going to continue at it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Johnny?
Yeah, do what you like to do. And if you can, teach, learn, never stop learning. I keep saying this, on my shows, never stop learning, no matter what it is. But and if you know something, teach other people, whatever that is too.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, dude.
And eat your vegetables.
and and be nice to everybody. Be nice to people. Treat people how you want them to treat you. And if they're not nice to you, just, you know, walk away and maybe they'll learn someday, you know. You can't make everyone, you can't change people. You can try to be an example by your own behavior. That's how I try to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Right, Ian?
Yeah, Ian.
Ian was watching
Right.
my PTA last night, man.
Oh, right on.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's true though. Like what Ian's saying is that in YouTube and kind of like what's happening in YouTube land and the internet and social media is that negativity sells because it's exciting to us. Conflict is exciting and it gets us, ooh, what's happening? What's going on? And you know, the TikTok videos and the things that sell, it's always, you know, something that gets your juices flowing, you
Yeah.
know,
But you
and that can be good once in a while, but not
but
always.
a lot of that stuff isn't real though either.
Yeah, well now especially.
A lot of negativity is manufactured and made up.
Right.
But
A
it's
lot of the conflicts are made up conflict too that we don't need to become having conflict with each other about. We can get along a lot better, right?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
some of it's real, some of it's made up, some of it's manufactured, some of it's you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's always been there, man. I mean,
Always been there.
when I first started doing my live streams, that was actually a big thing. was called
Yeah, right.
YouTube Drama, and
Yeah, the drama.
I
Yeah.
used to watch, all these other IRL channels, which I still do, and I'd be watching the stuff, and I knew, I'm like, dude, like the stuff I'm seeing, at some point that's going to happen, and it does. No matter what you do, if you put yourself out there, if you
Yeah.
create content, whatever it is, some people are always, you're going to get both sides. You're going to get people that love
Right.
you. You're going to have people that hate your guts and want to take you down. So
Or they just want to use you, like, like, let me bring this example into the picture, like with Rob Chapman and that KDH guy. That KDH guy basically built his channel off in the beginning, going after a big fish like, Rob, because there was some weakness there that he can exploit. And so he went after it and exploited that weakness and made a name for himself as being some kind of like, TMZ of YouTube musicians or whatever the hell, and YouTubers. And some people will use that because it works. It works. You see all the crazy, at the counter or at the, pay counter or whatever you want to call the teller line, all the crazy magazine stuff there with all the crazy stories of all the stuff that's probably 99% BS. But people buy it because it's funny or it's exciting or oh, I can't believe that, and they're sucked into it, and that's what social media has become. It's become the newspaper rag online. But then there's all the good stuff there too, like your channel and other channels that are doing YouTube in a different way. And just like we're seeing more and more media out there that's changing, it's no longer the bot paid for corporate media, but we're seeing a lot more stuff like that on Substack and other ways where people can get information and judge by themselves whether it's true or not based on how the facts all fall into place. And people are doing that. People aren't as dumb. We are manipulable, but we're not, you can fool some of the people some of the time. Johnny's an old saying, right? But what's the rest of it? You can't fool all the people all the time. And eventually people are going to come on to what the real truth is, and they're going to get pissed and they're going to do something about
Yeah.
it. And that'll happen. That'll come around.
Yeah. You guys can't fool me. I've been on here.
Johnny can't be fooled.
Yeah.
It's true. Johnny definitely, maybe too defensive sometimes, I'd have to say. But I understand why. Because once you have your own little castle, people want to see what's in there and they want to take it over. You know, and that's what it is. Like what you're saying. Once you've built up something, there are going to be people who want to take it or tear it down,
Mm-hmm.
just to either take it or tear it down so they can do one or the other. 'Cause so there are people that just that's what their purpose in this universe is. There's destructive forces and there's, forces that create. Sometimes those coexist. Sometimes they really go at each other, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So just
Right?
do what you like, man.
Do what you like,
but
be
more,
yourself.
but most importantly is you got to do it. You're going to find, there's an audience for everything out there, and they're going to, as long as you keep doing your thing, they're going to find you. So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
the thing is, you just got to
In
keep
some
doing
way.
it. And it's kind of like, I mean, the algorithm, I heard you talking about this earlier. The algorithm only knows what you teach it.
That's
So,
so true.
so
Yeah.
so if you want whatever results you want, you need to put that into it to get those results.
Right. 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 I think, for you to grow, for me to grow, we got to figure out on YouTube, I'm saying, in whatever way, you got to figure out what works. Because if everyone's doing the same thing, then, you're going to be buried under the same shit. And that's what Kiss did. Kiss figured out, hey, we got signed. We know we're good enough, but it's not good enough to really make a scene. So we got to figure out what we got to do to really break out from everyone else, and they went on and they created Kiss. And I think that's a good example. They went and found Ace Frehley. They needed that second guitarist that had that kind of playing ability and that vibe and that coolness and that swagger. Just like Van Halen needed David Lee Roth, man. Whether they knew it or not at the beginning, that swagger sold, that attitude sold.
Oh
Bringing
yeah.
the chicks helped, that band be a big name band. if it wasn't for David Lee Roth, Van Halen might have been a great band, but they might have never been bigger than, say, you know, any of the other bands that had a great guitar player, like Montrose or
Very
like
beginning,
Czech, you
in the
know.
very beginning, it was very important that
Yeah.
that that David Lee Roth was there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
at the same
huge. I mean,
time,
you can
when Sammy
imagine where
Hagar
where would they be?
he did, they wouldn't have gone on to do what they did.
Yeah, and Kiss without Frehley would not have been Kiss. And in my mind, he's always been the coolest of the four, you know. I always thought Gene was a little creepy. I always thought Paul was a little something else. And then I thought Chris was just the drummer, you know. But for me, Ace Frehley was like the dude. He was low key, kick ass, didn't say much, sang a few songs, had cool voice when he did sing, and the guy was cool, man. He was the coolest dude in that band. He was the cool dude, and he's the guy everyone wanted to be. You know, um, I'm sure some people wanted to be the Freaky Gene Dragon character or whatever,
Oh,
demon character spitting blood and stuff.
did,
Some kids
did,
like that, to
did
be
you
shock factor. You
see the
know, the,
post? Did you see the post how for Halloween one year Taylor Swift and her band dressed up as Kiss?
uh-huh. Yeah,
Did you?
I wouldn't doubt it. Why not? Yeah.
She dressed up. There's a photo of her as Gene Simmons.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because she wants to be the that makes sense to me because
By the way,
see the Gene character is the one who's like really out in your face, kind of like nah, and you get to be the crazy one, being Gene, you get to be the crazy one, and that's what's cool about Gene. Yeah, yeah, they all have their thing. Yeah.
let me see.
By the
James,
way, you were
what's James saying? Johnny, I found your page right here beside Laz. Right on, dude.
yeah, right on, man. Yeah, well, yeah, there was nobody like Kiss in the 70s. And there was nothing like Kiss in the 70s. I mean, the closest thing was maybe Bowie, what he was doing. Because he had a stage show too. I mean, he was trying to do something that was not your typical rock band. He was trying to
Probably
do a rock show,
it,
almost a theatrical musical thing. What's that?
that's probably where they got that was from Bowie. I mean,
Well,
was
they actually were copying the New York Dolls. They were really in New York and they were doing, yeah, Bowie, that scene at that time, everything going on in New York at that time. They
Bowie,
were trying to break into that scene. Yeah.
Alice Cooper, New York
Yeah,
Dolls.
that's
So
right.
there was a scene for that, and they were a part
Yeah.
of. But like what you were saying, to have their stage show and the explosions with Pyro John Watkins, right? And
Right. That guy was amazing. He
and
burned half of Gene's hair off that one time.
and the makeup and all that stuff. They did all that stuff to stand out because really musically, in the beginning, all those classic songs, they're just sped up songs from the 50s. Really, if you think about it.
They are. Yeah. Even 2000 Man's like a slowed down version. If you listen to 2000 Man, then it almost sounds like,
Mhm.
that song. I mean, and a lot of those songs are like, of course, because all those guys grew up listening to that music, and so you can't help but be influenced by what you heard growing up, right? And so, but they did their own versions. I mean, what I love about that song 2000 Man, when I first heard that on Dynasty, I think it was, right? Wasn't it? I think so. I'm like, man, this song is like nothing like any of the other songs on the album, and it's cool, and it's so different. And it was also because it was Ace's voice, and it was a different attitude, and it was kind of like him imagining what it was going to be like in the 2000s. If I'm a 2000 man, and it was cool. It was kind of like, yeah, he's just listen to the lyrics of that song, guys. It's great. And that was a cool song, and it was nothing flashy. It was almost punk.
Mhm.
Almost, it had a lot of attitude. It had that New York kind of attitude that I love about New Yorkers. And you know what? The Bay Area has attitude too. Like you got bands like Metallica and other, Jefferson Airplane and Starship, bands like those bands,
The
the
attitude
Grateful Dead, they
is,
had attitude too. Different kind of attitude, but they had an attitude too,
yeah.
you know?
We built this.
Yeah, we built the city on rock and roll. Well, you got guys like, shit. You got like Chris Isaac coming out of the Bay Area. You got all kinds of punk, bands and
No,
rock bands
not
coming
a
out of the
lot.
Bay Area. Green
I,
Day. I mean,
oh
you
yeah,
were out here in the Bay Area, right? Why did you come to the Bay Area? Because probably there was something about the scene here that you dug and you wanted to be
I
part
heard
of,
you were
right?
here, and so I had to come out.
Nah, in the 90s with
Yeah,
our little studio there, nobody knew who the hell we were.
I heard about
And
that.
if I had a different partner in that, if I had a guy like you partnering with a guy like you and other people like if people of like-mindedness, not wanting to go into EDM
No,
drug-fested, music. If it was somebody like you that was wanting to do some kind of cool rock and roll music, it would have been cool. But I ended up with a guy who went all EDM, and I'm just like, oh God, I cannot do this. No.
yeah.
I was, writing guitar and keyboard parts for frickin' EDM dance music, and I wanted to shoot myself in the face.
Oh God.
You know? No, I just like Ace had to quit Kiss after a while because he's like, I'm gonna kill myself if I stay in this
Well,
band.
but
I'm
EDM
I'm killing myself.
music is happening, man. Especially in
Yeah,
San.
I know, but I don't care. That's the thing. It's just like country is big in America too. I'm not going to be a country player, dude. I don't care how big it is. It's not what I want to do, and it's not what's in me. It's not like Ace was Ace. You are you. Van Halen was Van Halen.
Well,
You can't make Van Halen do bebop music, even though his dad was a bebop clarinetist or whatever kind of jazz music, dance music he
they
played.
did, they
He
did
didn't want to do that.
they did that music though. They did it. They
They
knew
did it, but he didn't
that.
continue doing it because he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do
That's the,
something
that's
else.
the thing too, though, man. Is do what you want, but learn
Yeah.
from everything. Get inspired. You can get inspired by everything there is. Like we were talking. Is Holly here? We were talking about. She was talking about
Yeah,
Taylor
she was here.
Cat earlier,
Hunt on the Lone Ranger.
and
More like Clouseau and Kato. Did you see that?
no, but yeah, I know who they are. Yeah,
No, Fishman says Johnny and Laz, Tonto and the Lone Ranger. The Long Ranger or the Lone Ranger? You could call me the Long Ranger.
I
You
heard
can
you.
hit that laugh track. That's what she
I
said.
heard they call you the Long
Uh,
Ranger.
the long talker. On Seinfeld, I'll be the long talker. Just doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no. In all seriousness, and I
Uh,
I got a split. It's like what time
yeah,
is it?
me too.
Now it's like 4 in the morning.
I'm lucky that no one showed up to kidnap me again today like they did yesterday. By noon here, they had already kidnapped me and taken me to drink beers all day until the night, and that's what happened. And it was great.
What's wrong with that?
And we had a great time. We talked about life, a bunch of guys. It was awesome. It was great getting together with a bunch of guys. Even though we don't understand each other 100% language-wise, we're able to communicate over some beers and some ceviche and other good food.
Mhm. So wait,
Such a man, right?
yeah. So but
So
no.
what were we gonna
So
end on? Finish it off.
when it comes to music, learn. Don't look down to any type of music, whatever. It's like
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't like it, it's cool. But whatever it is, you can learn from it.
You can definitely take from stuff, and that's what's smart too. I think what Kiss even did, and what Ace Frehley and what what Paul, and that's not even his real first name,
Ring.
what Paul Stanley, but it is Ace's first name, by the way. Hi, Janelle. Open. I'm Vive and YouTube live on YouTube. Yeah, she's just waving at me. She has her own keys to get in here if she wants to, but she's just waving. But what was I going to say about Kiss? So they figured out that they needed to do something different, but they took a lot from, like you were saying, like the 50s eras music and all this kind of stuff, and they made their own version of it. And it took a while. It took a few. What sucks about today, Johnny? I'll have to say this about today's music and what's hard about breaking out today. And that's why you have super mega stars making all the big money in music and getting all the support. Not that she got all the support, but she got, enough to get to where she's at and then bought back her own rights to her music and everything. Taylor Swift is where she's at because how many albums has she put out? It took Kiss 4 albums till finally they were able to break out and be played on the radio. And you know why they got played on the radio? Because people, kids and their parents, were becoming the Kiss army that went
Mm-hmm.
around radio stations and say, play Kiss. We want you to play Kiss, because radio stations weren't playing Kiss because radio stations are owned by companies that are paid to play what they play. And that is what it is even today. Online, you see the same thing. The algorithm is written by the people who run social media. And so it is working for them, and it is used that way to make money for them. So it's not interested in supporting art, it's interested in making money off of artists, right? And if you are an artist and you want to make money, you got to find whatever way you can break in. Kiss, the producer that was running Kiss's shows and everything, and the tours and everything, they were going totally broke. If you look at their documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and they were about to lose it all. He had mortgaged his own house. He's got a family with kids. He mortgaged his own house to keep the show going because they had an expensive show. All the pyrotechnics and all the craziness and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
their shows were doing great, but they weren't getting airplay and they weren't selling albums. Well, the Kiss Army finally started to surround radio stations and say, that's how the Kiss Army started. It wasn't like they started it. That's how it started. Just like the Ramones were practically unknown until the head of their fan club decided to make that movie, Rock and Roll High School. And that's when they really started to get big and known, especially outside of the United States, because it became a cult classic kind of thing, right? The documentary of this crazy band from New York, the Ramones, and then like
Yeah.
in Japan, they're way bigger than they are in the United States. They never made money in the U.S. They made a lot of money elsewhere, or some money anyway. But the bottom line, Kiss was going broke. And if it wasn't for their live shows and everyone loving their live shows so much, which I
And,
keep talking about live, right?
and
It's all about live.
the one thing that fans uh, blame them, enough, merchandise,
Yeah, merchandising. Yeah.
merchandising. That
Bands made money off merchandise. Record companies back then didn't. Now they're even trying to take a piece of that because they're not making money off record sales today, right?
right.
So I mean, you think about it, some ways it's easier to get your stuff out there today, but it's a tsunami of other musicians out there too that you're swimming with, and good luck. So it's a way bigger ocean with a lot more fish in it. And so it's even harder to break out. But if you get lucky, if you have some kind of a splash thing, like some of your videos with your dog or whatever it might have been, got you enough attention to, garner enough attention to keep building this to where you can make a little money off of it, and you can actually run it like a real show.
Well,
And that's great.
that's what I was saying on my show last night. Was you just keep going. You you
Yeah. You never know what's going to be the thing that
you,
flashes and
you never
breaks you
know what
out.
to take off. You just got to put stuff out there. I've made videos that I thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. Nothing, and then I put up a
Right.
video. I didn't think twice about it. 100,000 views.
Right. How many songs have been written by bands and musicians say that, oh, I hated that song, but for whatever reason, everyone loves it. Every breath you take, is a song about, a bad relationship, but everyone plays it at their wedding. It's like, what the fuck? It makes no sense, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you, man. You got to do your own thing. Go out there and do it. Get serious with it. I'm going to try to, I keep saying this over and over again, and it's hard to do because, I have life and I have to live it and pay for all the things. But I'm getting closer to it. I was looking at some pictures. I'll probably put a collage of this together. I was looking at some pictures of where I was at 5 years ago and even 10 years ago. I'm about 10 years away from when I started my YouTube channel, 2017. And I didn't really even do anything with that channel until 2019 when I
Wow.
went to NAM. And then I didn't really even do much with the channel after NAM until you and I were hanging out more. And you said, yeah, you should do your channel. I'm like, I do a channel, but I'm like, do more videos, do Veda. And you got me doing Veda in August, vlog
Mm-hmm.
every day, in August, right? So it was either April or August. And so I was doing Vedas in August of 2019, and that's when I started to do more and more actual videos and play music and talk about gear and talk about myself and others and you and whatever. So, you just got to keep doing it. Like I said, just keep doing it. Have fun at it and make it a show. And like James is saying, great show. Thank you, man. But yeah, let's end on Ace. Learn from people like Ace, learn from people like Kiss, what they did as a band early on. They stuck together and they broke up because, like he even says in interviews, they started they stopped hanging out together and being together because they were making enough money where they can have their own rooms and stuff, their own bus or whatever. And pretty soon they didn't have that connection anymore and they disbanded because they weren't a band anymore. They were just a rock group at that point. They were a money making machine at that point. And that same kind of thing I think happened to Van Halen too. I think the same kind of thing happens to a lot of bands. It happened to the Eagles. It happened to the Beatles. It happens to a lot of bands, and it's kind of natural.
And that's
The
the
Police, yeah,
Cyndi Lauper had that song, man.
right, yeah,
You know the one?
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. That song
Girls
exactly.
just want to have fun. No,
Time after time. No,
no.
the Time After Time one.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I used to work with the guitar player on both those songs. No, she
Thank
has a
you,
song.
James.
She has a song called "Money Changes Everything,"
That's true too. Yeah.
and that's what it is.
Money changes everything.
What it
Yeah,
is.
right. But
So,
see, AC/DC, yeah, and there's some bands that have stuck it out throughout, like ZZ Top, AC/DC, the
that's
Stones.
the trick. That's the trick. That's the whole thing, man. When it comes to branding and, well, let's just say YouTube, doing this.
Yeah,
It takes money to do this, but when
yeah,
money is involved, everybody hates everybody else. You know,
yeah. Isn't that weird? Yeah,
so that's
I
how it is. So that's why you
yeah,
have to be true to yourself. Do what it is you do,
absolutely. Yeah,
and if you do what you like and you put the work into it, and you make, so everything I make goes back into my channel. Everything I make goes right back in
yeah, yeah,
everything I do.
yeah.
So, do that.
You got to do that. You got to love it, and you got to go for. You got to be yourself, And like you said, you also have to learn and grow from what's going on out there, so you can change with, the tide as it flows, so you can continue to be successful. You got to change with the times to be successful.
That's
So
right.
there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and music is a great place to find a lot of that. Learn a lot from that. And I'll end again. I'll try to end on this. We're talking about, Ace Frehley because he died. How many of you out there had learned more about Ace Frehley as not just a musician, but not just a guitarist, but as a person and what his life was really like versus all the negativity you hear? Oh, he was a coke addict and he was. You see so many crappy comments like that. It's like, look, you're just reading the headlines, bro. How about going a little deeper on the person and learn from each other because you can learn something from if you want to call him a loser in your mind because he was a coke addict and a drinker, you might be able to learn something from someone else, you know. And I think a lot of times when people have that kind of attitudes because maybe they're trying to hide something and they're not wanting to admit to issues they have and, they're projecting. That's coming from the psych side of things. And when I do this show, I try to talk about, some of the psychology and the side of music as a form of therapy and not just music, but
I gotta
in
go.
life, what we can learn. Yeah, right
That's
on,
what.
man.
I'll see you guys later.
I'll end it on this. See you later. Thanks for joining. You
Bye.
know, grieving some loss, like we lost Ace Frehley, you know, but we can also, part of the grieving process is we can also learn from another person. And something that I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about recently in an interview on the Diary of a CEO. I love that guy, Steven's show. He was talking about how one of the problems that we have in modern, society is that we're all about ourselves and individualism and being ourselves. Okay, that's important. But we are ourselves in a community, and we're losing connection to each other through community because we're so spread out with so many different interests and so many different things. But there are common interests that we all share and have. Those common interests are greater for the most part, like the problems we're having politically in the United States. For the most part, we all want basically the same thing, by the way. decent, pay for a hard day's work or a decent day's work, and we want fairness and we want honesty and we want, clean water and clean air and good roads and a home we can live in with our family and not have to, worry about what's going to happen a month or 6 months or a year from now if we have a medical problem or something, all the things that can happen because of all the exposure we have to chemicals and everything else. But, most of us are going to have some kind of cancer or something that's going to get us that we're going to need some serious medical attention for at some point. So all these things, we all need all these things. We have all these things in common. So we need to work together to solve some of these problems because we have them in common. And we have to connect with each other and listen to each other and talk to each other and work out these problems and stop blaming each other for why we have these problems. It is important to find out why, because that's the justice side of things. We have to, there has to be justice for behavior. People are behaving badly and taking from others that doesn't belong to them, or even manipulating or lying or cheating in some way. That's not an honest, kind of way of life. And that kind of dishonesty and that kind of behavior, not shouldn't only be frowned on, but it should be definitely discouraged. And when it happens, justice has to come, the long arm of justice has to come and do its part, right? And make sure that others don't do those same kind of behaviors that are damaging to the fabric of society and culture and just humanity as a whole. Our environmental problems that we're facing when it comes to whether or not you believe in, the earth warming or not, doesn't matter. The environmental damage that we do to the earth by all the things that we do, we have to be aware of that. So that's something that we should be, aware of and try to do less damage to the Earth because we live on it. It's one planet. We're not going to be living on Mars, y'all. We're not going to live on Venus. We're not going to live on Saturn. We're not going to live on any moons of Saturn or anything anytime soon, unless we, if we can't make it here, we're definitely not going to make it somewhere else where it's definitely less hospitable. This is the most hospitable place. So if we can't work it out here, hell, it's not going to go well for us elsewhere. Okay. When people dream of escaping to some place like that, that's only if there's no other choice because this is a pretty damn good place, So I'll leave it on that. That what I think that music does, and what's great about music is it connects us, and we forget about all the things that you know divide us, and we're together in that moment, in harmony, harmonizing with each other. Whether it's dancing or singing or banging heads or whatever, right? And we ought to find a way to use that energy. Let's use that energy, to bring about connection and then camaraderie and then collaboration and then solutions to problems. That's where I'm at with it all, right? So until next time, know your tone, know your gear, learn it, live it, love it. Not just music, but each other. And rock on, man. And thanks for joining me for a good hour and a half here. Sorry, Charles, that I rolled over your show today. I hope you can forgive me for that. I know you will. You guys all go check out Charles's show if you haven't been dual streaming. Go check out Charles's show and hang out in there for a little bit and watch that and say hi to him for me. Do a raid, last raid. Music Therapy Labs raid. And then I'll see you guys next time. I think we might be flying on the day that I would normally do this show. So next time I won't be able to do the show, but if I'm lucky, I might be able to do the Thursday night gear and demo show. Maybe I'll demo this piece of gear right here, a cheap little acoustic electric. And I wish I had brought my, so stupid. Wish I would have brought my Fender Mustang mini amp, headphone amp. I could have been playing this thing with a, you know, with a classical anyway. It would have been interesting. So until then, you guys rock on. Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, yeah. Love you too, man. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Love each other. Spread love. And until then, rock on, man. You all rock. See you later. I gotta end on this.